President Obama delivered his highly anticipated Middle East speech today, which was intended to reframe American foreign policy in that region. That apparently includes telling Israel to give in to a key Palestinian demand.
The United States believes that negotiations should result in two states with permanent Palestinian borders with Israel, Jordan, and Egypt, and permanent Israeli borders with Palestine. We believe the borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps, so that secure and recognized borders are established for both states.
Joining me now to break this down, Utah Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz. Congressman Chaffetz, welcome here. I'm going to assume that you had a chance to hear the president, or at least read a transcript of what he said, or understood what he said about Israel. Essentially, he wants Israel to return to the pre-67 borders. Your reaction, Congressman Chaffetz?
Well, from time and time again, what we hear from this president are things that Israel needs to do instead of allowing this process to play out and be a little bit more supportive, and quite frankly, of one of our best friends there in the Middle East. Moving those borders and to announce this sort of unilaterally as a position in the United States of America is stunning, especially when you have the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu announcing that that would be indefensible. And if you've been to Israel, as I have a couple of times, you'll realize that it is indefensible. You just can't protect yourself. And I think the president's wrong on this.
Well, why do you think the president does this? I mean, he has made a statement to a national audience literally on the eve of the arrival of President Netanyahu, in which he's Prime Minister Netanyahu, in which he's asking the Israeli Prime Minister to do something that no Israeli leader could do and expect to stay in office. Do you think that President Obama is trying to tarnish Benjamin Netanyahu in the eyes of the Israeli voters? I mean, this is almost the most profound snub you could want, other than perhaps kicking him out of the White House mid-lunch.
He's on an airplane flying here, or just arrived in the United States of America, and then he gets news of this. Your jaw has to ground. What the president should be saying is that, you know what, they are going to recognize Israel has the right to be recognized as a state, a Jewish state. And until the president is definitive on that and said it is the policy of the United States that Israel will be recognized as a Jewish state, before we start anything else, then I think we're never going to get from here to there, because that is a very realistic thing to support, and yet the president doesn't seem to be able to utter that.
How do you think this resonates with the Jewish American community, with Jewish American voters? Is the president willing to write them off in deference to his apparent wish to meddle in Israeli politics?
I cannot imagine somebody who cares deeply about Israel and their safety and security, how you could ever support President Barack Obama. Now, in the last election, I was told something like 70% of Jewish Americans voted for the president. But looking at the policies of the way the president has approached this, I can't imagine there's anybody who believes in the safety and security of Israel that could support Barack Obama.
All right, switching gears, we have about a minute left, Congressman Chaffetz. The president also pretty much threatened President Assad of Syria. Now, Assad's a monster, and he's killing his own people. Are we going to see drones take him out? Is the president going around the world looking for monsters to slay whose deaths increase his popularity here?
The president currently has one of the most confusing foreign policies I've ever seen. What is most offensive to me is when the president went before the world, when he talked about launching an attack upon Libya, and said that he got the authorization to do so from the United Nations. No, Mr. President, you need to come before the United States Congress and get permission from the United States Congress and the people of the United States of America. Right now, if you look at the foreign policy and the duplicity in which we're acting in Libya and Syria, we're dealing with in Afghanistan, it is terribly confusing. It's inconsistent at best, and I think it's unacceptable for him to just bypass the Congress.
I'd like to add one phrase to that, and it's time the Congress did something about it. Agreed?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have been just so inept in just allowing the president to roll over us, when clearly, based on the Constitution, the president should come to the United States Congress, not the United Nations, to get permission to what he's doing overseas.
Congressman Chaffetz, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Judge.
Newt Gingrich has already